Cristiano was second only to Lamine Yamal for the Player of the Year in La Liga. And yet only Nelson Viper made it into the Team of the Season. Once again, the board had given us minimal budgets for the summer. But I'm making moves early for Lucien Thomas as well, as the real only CM prospect that I like the look of for the budget I have. And eventually we get a deal done for around £2.5 million accepted. My scouts have been very busy though and found me so many players to add to my shortlist, including this Colombian 18-year-old striker with outrageous attributes. He needs to work on some mentals, but how incredible does he look? And I got a £2 million offer accepted for him. I just couldn't resist. There's also a Turkish wonderkid at Trabzonspor that is fantastic but a little bit pricey right now at 17 million and has a player trait of come deep to get the ball, which I'm not too keen on. The last player I'm going to try and bring in for now is a South African player that my scouts have found at Orlando Pirates, who could be a future star but is so cheap I might as well bring him in, eventually getting a deal accepted for less than 500k. And even his wages are really cheap. Well, he was going to be the last player until I found this Hungarian centre-back who had a 400k release clause. He's 6'6" as well, with 50 in agility and 16 balance. But he ain't interested in joining though. So instead, I put in a bid for Neil Sau, and I'm not quite sure what type of player I want to mould him into just yet. Good news is, we are once again in the Champions League. And I'm also glad I went for Neil Sau because Otavero decided to reject us and choosing to move to PSG instead, which is frustrating, but that's what happens, I guess. Finally though, after multiple attempts, Satoshi Kawasaki, the Japanese right back we've had on our radar for the last couple of seasons, is finally interested in talking to us. Shout out to Montolio, by the way, who we are bumping up to the first team after some good development. And with the new signings coming in, I'm open to accepting some bids for our backup right back Gia, with a view to start a bidding war on Samu, who Norwich has also put a bid in for. I also noticed that Tony Lato was turning 30 this season, and it's time to cash in and look for another left back. But we do have some bad news, as FA, our Turkish centre-back, broke his ankle and is out for a long time. With Tony Lato leaving, we need to bring in our new left-back, Cesar Torres, for just £1.6 million. And following Tony is both Morlanes and Samu. I'm not messing around this summer. With FA's ankle break, I went back for the Hungarian centre-back, and this time he was interested, and we get a deal done. Another request to upgrade the training facilities was accepted, as well as the youth facilities. Thank you. We also sold Anthony Malambo to Leverkusen for £10 million, which suggests we are entering Stage 4. Stage 4 is when you start to sell that first bunch of players that you brought in youth to gold, and then you start bedding in either newer talent or improved talent because you develop them well in your youth side and you start to build up a nice big transfer budget. In Malambo's case, I'm intrigued to see how Miguel Pons as a shadow striker backup next season can do. He certainly has the attributes for it. My other option is to bring in Lovisi at Inter Milan, but he wants first team football over Krupi and Jensen. I can't give that right now. I also had a big offer in for Babic, which I still managed to negotiate higher. Not bad for a player we picked up for just 2.7 million. I feel like all we're doing right now is transfers, but it's my biggest window yet, and we have another Japanese wonder kid here with fantastic base attributes for just 3.6 million. And here we go, we finally have our first match of the season. With just 2 injuries, we field a very new looking team from the midfield down. And yet, even though we were fielding half of a new side, we took the lead early through the usual suspects, Prestiani. And after half-time, Krupi doubled our lead. But right after, Ocampos scored a penalty, and just our luck, Endesiri scored an equaliser. Straight into a game away to Valencia, and Krupi scores from kickoff. We absolutely dominated this fixture, and before long, Frank Jensen doubles our lead. Learning from our mistake in the last game, after half-time, an attack down the left provided a perfect cross for Nelson Viper. Before our next match, we picked up an Argentine midfielder, Stambazi, from River Plate for just 4.5 million. Although he didn't start, I gave a couple of starts to some new players, and it almost cost us as we had to come from 2-0 down to win 3-2 with a 90th minute penalty. But then we took our first loss of the season next against Girona. We completed a signing 2 years in the making as Okachukwu finally turns 18 and can move from his Nigerian home side. And that sees the transfer window draw to a close, and it's definitely been our busiest summer, but we come out of it with a lot of young talent either signed or moving up to the first team with a lot of experience leaving the side. And with our transfer budget still at £46 million for more signings in January. Our next match, we faced the champions Barcelona, and they took the lead very early on through Jack Grealish. However, you would have thought that they were just the champions because we completely dominated the match and pulled ourselves back level just 10 minutes later, then went on to take the lead through Frank Jensen. And Gavi was sent off on the 22nd minute, and against 10 men, we took advantage of the numbers game and we made it 3-1 in the second half. Jack Grealish could only pull back a second for Barcelona. We beat them 3-2 quite comfortably though. But from playing amazing against the Spanish champions in the Champions League, we were battered by Liverpool 2-0 with no sign of the performance that we put up against Barcelona. A draw to Alaves followed and we finally got back on track with 2 1-0 wins, one in the Champions League, one in La Liga. We fell behind from the very first kickoff against Levante away from home, but thankfully we did pull one back quite quickly, and we turned the game back on its head when Nelson Viper scored a penalty, winning the game eventually 4-1. Straight into back-to-back losses at home. That's not good. This month was a poor one though, with 2 draws after those losses, and we have a very difficult November ahead of us, ending against Real Madrid, who are currently running away with the league, already 9 points ahead from second place Sevilla. Back to the Champions League, and we have to face another Spanish team, Atletico Madrid, away from home as well, but Nelson Viper was absolutely insane in this match, and he picked up 3 goals in total in a 5-2 victory, but he didn't even get man of the match. That was Frank Jensen, the Danish midfielder, who got 3 assists and 4 key passes. Overall though, perfect performance in the Champions League. And then we lose 2 games in a row again, just before facing Real Madrid. A very close affair at the Bernabeu, where the deadlock was broken by Nelson Viper from the penalty spot. In the second half though, they worked the throw in very well and gave Pedro Neto an opportunity that he took, smashing the ball into the top corner. But we still had one good opportunity ourselves when the ball was played to Krupi, and we had an amazing done down the right hand side and paid a perfect cross for Nelson Viper to score the winner. That loss gave Real Madrid their first loss of the season, and look at Sevilla, they dropped from 2nd to 11th in 1 month. But of course, in the match right after beating top of the division, we lose against Danish side Midtjylland at home 3-0. Outside of that Champions League loss, we put in some good performances. Viper got 4 goals against Tenerife and a 5-1 win, and it was good to see some supporting acts such as Takata scoring from midfield and attacking midfielder Jensen getting in on the action too, who by the way could be the next best attacking midfielder in the world. Just 19 years old, and he is outstanding. But a good ending to the winter break, and lots of goals. Despite that freak loss, we sit in the top 4 of La Liga. One signing came through the door early in January, Andorran left-back from FC Andorra by the name of Victor Arce, who, just 16 years old, looks incredible already. Not bad for just £4.6 million either. We kicked off the new year with a great win against Atletico Madrid with a goal from the spot by Nelson Viper, and a cracking header from Frank Jensen in the second half. However, more bad results in January with a draw to Betis and a loss to Bilbao. And the end of the month also seen a draw to Valencia, followed by a drumming by Sevilla. In the Champions League, we needed to get some results against AC Milan, but we could only grab a 1-1 draw at the San Siro, meaning we definitely needed to win against Newcastle at home and Prestiani sent us on our way there. Thomas scored a beautiful second before the Nigerian striker Okechukwu made it 3. Trincao did get a goal back from Newcastle, but it was too late, and that helped us just qualify for the playoff round in 20th place. And when the draw came around, we got pulled against AC Milan again. Our bad form in the league has seen us drop into 6th place, but it's all still very close between 8th and 2nd. Annoyingly, we've also been drawn against Barcelona in the Copa del Rey, and they knocked us out in the 4th round, 1-0 with a good goal from Gavi. And we cannot shake off the bad results either this season. In the Champions League though, we could pull off another incredible win against a very good AC Milan side, with goals from Rafael Luiz, Jensen and Viper. The second goal from Jensen was a calamity of errors by the Milan defence, but we still controlled the game and we deserved the win. Retegui scored Milan's only goal as we take a 3-1 lead back to the San Siro. And despite them scoring early, we still held them to a 2-2 draw, qualifying for the next round. Barcelona did also defeat us in the league during February, but outside of that, we picked up 3 La Liga wins, including a 4-1 win at home to Girona after conceding just 5 minutes into the match. And ending the month of February against Tottenham in the round of 16 of the Champions League, and in the first leg, only managing to salvage a 1-1 draw thanks to Junior Krupi's goal, who quite honestly has been phenomenal for us this last couple of seasons, and the development is beautiful to see. What wasn't beautiful to see was the beating Spurs gave us, knocking us out of the Champions League round of 16. In fact, the whole of this month was a write-off with only 1 win and 3 league draws, which created a 6-point gap between us and Sevilla in 4th place. The only upside was it was great to see Okechukwu scoring a couple of fantastic goals. At under-19s level, he scored 22 goals with 12 assists in just 19 games. April started with a home loss, and my top 4 hopes were starting to become worries of missing out of Champions League football. But a much needed win against Real Betis was exactly the response we were looking for. Even with a couple of key players missing from the lineup such as Nelson Viper, the lads still got a 3-0 win though, with Junior Krupi scoring 2 goals. Unfortunately for us, league leaders Real Madrid was what followed, giving us a 4-1 loss. A crucial win against an Almeria side pushing to steal our European spot though was good. And a dominant performance at home the Saturday after against Tenerife, and slowly we started to look ourselves again. My particular highlight for this match was the combination of our two Japanese players, Takata and Kawasaki, who linked up beautifully for both the third and the fourth goals down that right hand side. Still, after that result, top four looked out of our reach and we looked destined for a fifth place finish in a row. That was until Junior Krupi's 94th minute equaliser against Atletico Madrid. Because we had already beaten Real Valladolid 3-1 and the extra point against Atletico kept us just 2 points behind Sevilla with 1 game remaining, and that's because they are on a losing streak right now and have Almeria to play on the final day of the season. And for some really odd reason they played the day before everyone else and lost 3-1, so we just have to win to jump above them. Our opponents Bilbao had a good season, but within 6 minutes we had already scored 2 goals and looked to control the game and claim that 4th place. And that's exactly what we did, winning 5-2 in the end, just the performance we needed to overtake Sevilla to gain that 4th spot, but we are still some way off even 3rd place Villarreal at this point. Development dive time, and I think I really need to spend this next summer bedding out my under-19s. There's not enough players in here. We've got Neil Sal, obviously, who we've just brought in. A little bit of development there with him. Victor, who's come in as that left back, he is definitely nearly ready for first team football already. So we need to obviously bed him in, maybe even loan him out. This guy here, he looks phenomenal, but I don't remember buying him. Like, I spent 33k on him, so really cheap price, but he looks fantastic already. Some fantastic mental attributes in there, and with 15 passing, he looks really good. He's only 17 years of age. Joaquin Delgado. We've obviously got the 6'6" centre-back that we brought in from Hungary. A little bit of development in there, but not too much, if I'm honest. I think we really need to work on this guy being that ball-playing defender and get that passing up just a little bit, because the physicals there are phenomenal for a 6'6" guy. Kenji Sakamoto, I'm a little bit worried about his development. He's not getting enough game time, and I maybe need to start loaning him out or maybe look to offload him. He's already worth more than what I bought him for anyway. And then Carbo comes in again as a player that I don't recognize buying, but I did for 1.1 million from Las Palmas. Good player, to be fair. Okay, let's have a look though at the Mallorca B team. There's a couple of players in here that we might feature within the next couple of seasons. David Sikahakane, probably didn't nail that. That's the South African player that we signed at the start of the season. Not much development at all on the 19-year-old. I think a loan deal next season is going to be needed to a La Liga 2 side. That's probably where I'm going to aim for that. Popovic, players like this, I'm going to try and look to offload. That's a lot of them are actually running out of contract, and look to just start bedding in new talent and just really bulk out the youth teams. And Wozu's another one that I might look to sell off now. He's going to be worth a lot more than what I actually bought him for, and I'm never really going to use him because, to be frank, David Medina has been great. So there he is, David Medina. Straight away, 19 years of age. I think for now, he is going to be my #1 goalkeeper for the next couple of years until I find the next goalkeeper, if you know what I mean. That goalkeeper that I found at a young age, he's going to be way better than what he is. I just need to find him. That's the thing. I need to find him. Rafael Luiz is doing everything he can to just be one of the best midfielders in the game right now. Same as Junior Krupi. Like, they both picked up injuries, annoyingly, but not too long. Junior Krupi looks incredible at 21. Frank Jensen, I mean, my scout's picking him up for, how cheap was it again in the Danish league? £6.75 million. Unreal. Absolutely unreal talent. Both footed as well, pretty much. Moves into channels. Oh, very grateful for finding him. And his Danish counterpart, Gabriel Parup, centre-back, he's been stonewall for me in that defence. 36 games, 1 assist. I don't remember him really getting injured that much. Really fantastic player. Nelson Viper, of course, 30 goals this season. Still fantastic. And I'm going to... He's one of the ones that I'm like, eventually I'm going to find somebody better. Because obviously there's some alarming attributes that you look and go, you're not going to win the Champions League with this guy, and he is wanted, and it's like, when do I cash in? Because he's £48 million. I need to wait until I find somebody who will obviously take the reins up front and score as many goals as Nelson. But for now, I can't find anybody who is that good. Cesar Torres, very good left back for us this season at 20 years of age for £1.6 million and playing 33 games and getting 10 assists. I can't knock that. That's unbelievable, really. Prestiani, of course, really good player for us. Not as good as what previous seasons have been, though, because last season he was phenomenal. This season, he has dropped off a little bit. It could be time to look at maybe a Prestiani replacement. Who knows? We'll have to have a look. Leandro Mogala, fantastic centre-back or right-back who's been playing for us. I think he's just a solid squad player for us right now. We cannot knock how good, how valuable he is to the side in both of those positions. Definitely not looking to offload him. Takata was one that I thought I'd bring in and not play that much because of Lucien Toma. And then Takata started playing and playing very well. Now, he doesn't look that good there, but he's still been phenomenal for me. Satoshi Kawasaki, I mean, those two linking up was beautiful. We've seen that quite often, especially in that one game where they were part of the 2 goals, the 3rd and the 4th goal. Satoshi Kawasaki. It took a while to get him, but I'm really glad I've got him now. He hasn't played as many games as what I hoped. 26 with 7 off the bench. Maybe actually I'm being a little bit harsh there. He has played quite a lot with 4 assists. Then we looked at FA. Obviously, he had broken ankle at the start of the season, recovered well, and still played quite a lot of games, 26 in total. Will we look to maybe sell him on? He is wanted by Sevilla. I won't be selling him to a team in the same division, but I ain't going to sell him unless, obviously, I find a good replacement. Lucien Toma come in as more of a squad player. I thought he was going to be a starting player, but he hasn't complained too much. For £2.5 million, some of these are steals. Miguel Pons had a little bit more game time, of course, playing that shadow striker, coming off the bench a little bit more. I think it's definitely suited him instead of playing a striker role. Maybe he needs a little bit more game time, though. Possibly a loan. That might be what I look at next season. Okachukwu, though, this was a surprise package for me because when I signed him as a 16-year-old, turning 18, I thought I was signing just because he's so cheap, 300k. But he's come in and he's been such a good replacement when Nelson Viper needs a rest. He's scoring so many goals. His pace is unbelievable. He might be the guy that takes over Nelson Viper. But I need to see whether he can do it as a first-team starter because 11 times he's played for me, but only 6 starts. And he's got 5 goals. So I don't know. That could be one that we look at, to be fair. So there's a few other players in there that we've obviously already looked at. But that's what I'm thinking. And right now, my scouts are still out, obviously, looking around. I've added a couple of more to the recruitment to be a bit more widespread because we have a few more scouts. And that's exactly what I'm going to look at. But there's some fantastic players. I've noticed him on there a few times, to be fair, that I'm going to go through and see who I can bring in at the start of this season. There's Lovisi, who we looked at the start of the season. Could we look to bring him in because his value is actually lower than what it was previously? That could be the Prestiani replacement. We'll have to find out next time.